Hi family, and welcome to the channel. A few days ago, I shared this post in our community field claiming that ancient Egypt wasn't a Mediterranean civilization. It sparked a huge debate with numerous people attacking me, and that's exactly what I wanted. You will understand why at the end of this video. Kemet, or ancient Egypt, was the civilization that emerged around the Nile Valley, mainly in the area today occupied by the Arab Republic of Egypt. And what is a Mediterranean country? Mediterranean countries are those that surround the Mediterranean Sea or located within the Mediterranean basin. And I am pretty sure that now you are wondering, what is he talking about? Is he crazy? Because indeed Egypt qualifies as a Mediterranean country according to that definition. Egypt and even ancient Egypt belonged to the countries surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. But I reiterate my claims that Kemet was not a Mediterranean civilization, and let me explain you why. Was Kemet truly a Mediterranean civilization? A few weeks ago, while making my video about soft power in Africa, I noticed something about one of the footage clips I used. It was a video listing the cities of Kemet one after the other. It started in the north with Memphis to the south. It made me realize why many people struggle to comprehend the African identity of Kemet. It's due to their perception of it, starting from Lower Egypt. I remember talking to a prominent TikToker a few months ago. Our conversation was about ancient Egypt being a black civilization. He told me that it wasn't the case, that there were a black ethnic group called Nubians in Egypt, but they were a minor group among a majority of Mediterranean Egyptian people. And that's how people perceive Kemet. A Mediterranean Eurasian civilization with a black minority in the south. But that's completely false. What we call ancient Egypt didn't originate in the north or around the Delta, which is the part of the country bordering the Mediterranean Sea and the Levant. What qualifies as Kemet should be the area where the culture, the art, the spirituality, the kingship, and the government emerged, right? And that heartland lies between Nubia and Upper Egypt. Areas known to this day, despite the invasions, to be the headquarters of black people in Egypt. And they are nowhere near the Mediterranean Sea. So, those who were considered indigenous Kemites back in the day were these black African people. In my video about the Red Crown of Egypt, I explain how every element constituting what became Kemet already existed prior to the integration of the Delta to that country. In fact, the Delta was not Kemet, it has been Egyptianized by the true Egyptians who came from Inner Africa. As attested by all classical Kemetic literature like the Edfu texts, for example. They conquered the area, then brought all their customs. The peoples of the Delta adopted it and joined their southern civilization. There are other elements confirming this. For example, in terms of trade. During the earliest periods, Kemites traded a lot with Central Africa. It was closely linked to Inner Africa with the kingdoms of Yam, Punt, and more. They knew the Central African foragers that they called the dancers of the gods. Meaning that to them, God lived where these dancers lived, in Central Africa. There was trade with the Levant too, since early periods, but the most important connections were with Inner Africa. Kemet mutated into a Mediterranean civilization during the late period, when it became Egypt, due to the origins of its latest invaders, the Greeks and Romans, who were true Mediterranean civilizations. But maybe you disagree with me, and I can understand that. So, let's go deeper. Diodorus Siculus says in Book 3, the Ethiopians say that the Egyptians are a colony drawn out of them by Osiris, and that Egypt was formerly no part of the continent, but a sea at the beginning of the world, and that it was afterwards made land by the river Nile. And this testimony is corroborated by official Kemetic texts like the Edfu texts, and by geology. After scientific investigation, Reynolds states, the configuration and composition of the lowlands of Egypt leave no room to doubt that the sea once washed the base of the rocks on which the pyramids of Memphis stand, the present base of which is reached by the inundations of the Nile at an elevation of 70 or 80 feet above the Mediterranean. How remote must be the period when Egypt was not the gift of the Nile. And, around 50 BCE, Diodorus expressed his respect by referring to Nubia as the home of Egyptians and of civilization itself. So, everything confirms it. However, why does it matter? By saying that Kemet was a Mediterranean civilization, we would be falsifying its history. We make it look like it started in the north and expanded south. It creates a confusion that leads many people to claim that it was created by some mysterious Mediterranean race, identical to modern Mediterranean and Levantine populations. And that's a theft of history for the indigenous African-descended populations who actually created it. Kemet was a Nilo-Saharan civilization, meaning of or relating to the Nile River or the inhabitants of the Nile region and the Sahara. And it just makes sense. Its emergence and existence depended on the Nile River, not the Mediterranean. So, this is why Kemet wasn't a Mediterranean civilization. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching Mr. Imhotep's channel, and see you in the next video.